My name's Amanda Miles and I am the owner and founder of My Aerial Home based in South East London. I identify as a kind of comedy harridan in waiting. I think nowadays if I were younger I would definitely have been a they, them, because the sexism that we all had to endure and still endure is rife. And I don't blame people for wanting to be other, and I think I would have done that too. So my pathway to the professional field of aerial, well, it was a little bit convoluted. I was a child dancer, so I went to arts educational school as a kid. I came out of that and I became a professional dancer, as all my family had been. My mum had been a dancer and my dad had been in the theatre as well. And from there, I didn't get a lot of work. I was a little bit short and fat. I became a theatrical agent for dancers and models. And then from there, I was a TV producer for 20 years. And during that time, I went to see a show at Sadler's Wells. And if anybody knows the show, I'd love them to tell me what it was. And I saw two static trapeze people in this show. And I was blown away. I'd never seen anything like it before. And that night, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And the next day, completely by chance, came a brochure from Jackson's Lane. And I live in South East London, and this is in North London. And it had adult trapeze classes. And that's what it was, and I'd never seen it before. So I rang up, and that Sunday I went up and I started doing classes. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I just couldn't believe how difficult it was. And from there on, I was hooked. This is a really hard question to answer. It's your wisdom and the lessons learned. Well, I think the older you get, the more you realise you don't know anything. And I think when you're younger, you think you've got all the answers. And you've got to realise that that's not the case. So I can't really tell you what to do, but I can certainly say that a lot of decisions that are made that feel very personal about you, it's not personal, it's business. So you have to kind of really look at things from a different perspective. So when you haven't got a job, or you didn't get that money, or something's happened and it feels really gut-wrenching to you, it isn't really about you. It's about decisions up the line. So it could be as simple as, you don't fit the costume. It could be really that simple. They don't have the money to get another costume, so they've got to get somebody who fits the costume, even though you were brilliant in that audition. Why didn't you get the money? Well, it could be for lots of reasons. It could be that they've got to tick a box somewhere else. So try not to take things too personally. Think of everything as being more of a marathon than a sprint. So keep your eye on the prize and just keep moving forward. And when things feel really, really desperate, remember, it isn't personal. They don't hate you. Nobody hates you. In fact, when you walk into a situation or an audition, people want to like you. They really want to like you because they want you to get the job. So try to go in with that attitude. And even if you don't get this job or something doesn't quite work out, the nicer you are to people, the more accessible you are, then the more likely they are to remember you for next time and help them remember you. So keep in contact with people. I think you've got to keep up those networks, and I'm terrible at that. I never really understood that you're making connections, and this terrible use of the word network, it's really about your friends, keeping up with people, making sure people know who you are, know that you're available, know that you're keen. I think that's really important, that you just try to make sure this is your job, keep professional. What advice would I give my younger self? Well, I'm quite an aggressive person. I'm really just a ball of anger all the time. And it is quite motivating because it kind of really pushes you forward. But I think really what I didn't understand were that my aggression and my kind of forcefulness and my passion, I like to call it, was really fear. And I think that I shouldn't be so fearful. And I think that if I could say that to people when you see people who are very aggressive and kind of really in your face, that a lot of the time it's all about your own fear. And really, most of the time, what have we got to be fearful about? Think about it rationally. I know that we all think, oh my God, I haven't got any money. I don't know where my next penny's coming from. I'm down to my last minus £100 or whatever. But, you're probably going to come out of it. It's probably going to be all right. So don't be so fearful. Don't be so aggressive. Keep it shut a little bit, maybe. Put a smile on your face and try to make things a little bit better for yourself and therefore for everybody else. Nobody wants somebody screaming and shouting and having a bit of a hissy fit, because they've got their own problems. They're not really interested in you. Keep it to yourself. I think I would have said that to myself. Wow, advice to emerging artists. That's really hard because, yeah, it's really different. We're just coming out of, well, we hope, coming out of the COVID pandemic. I think enthusiasm goes a long way, a long way. Being cool is an absolute ball ache if you're having to deal with people like that. I am not interested in how many Instagram followers you've got. I'm really interested in, are you interested in doing this job? Are you enthusiastic about it? Are you as enthusiastic as I am about it? Because when you run your own business and you really are just trying to create work for people, it actually isn't that easy, and you're looking for the right people to produce the product that you want to show. And that is the same whether you've got a theatre company or you're doing a film or whatever. You want the right people in the right job who care about your work too. So being enthusiastic and coming up with ideas is fantastic. It's really good to come up with ideas to show that you've got creativity. Don't be offended if people say no. Just keep bringing those ideas into play, just keep coming up with stuff, but don't think you're taking over. You know, there's a lot of the time you're a choreographer or a producer or a director, and you've got an issue, you think, oh God, I have to get out of that. And somebody comes up with a little idea and you go, yeah, that's really good, I'll take that. So just be enthusiastic, really show that you want to be there. Even if you don't, just lie. That's the whole point. People will then want to work with you more because you're a great person to have around, you're fun, you're coming up with ideas. And if you've got an idea later on, when they got to know you, then, you know, talk to them about it. I'm really happy when somebody says to me, look, I've got this idea, I'd quite like to do this. And if I've got the time, or I can give them time for free, I will, if I know you. I'm not just going to give it to anybody, but if we've got a relationship and I think you're good, yeah, I'm going to give you time to come and do something. I'm going to give you that support, but don't expect me to do it for you because I'm not interested, because I've done it. I know I can produce stuff. Can you? You've got to prove it. It's down to you to prove that. So if you've got ideas, go to people with them, but make sure you've got that relationship. Any specific learning from the year that we've had? Well, when it first started, I watched my business floating away from me, and it was really distressing. It was really distressing. All the years of working for something, and it just seemed that it was going. But certainly over the last kind of 15 months, I've chilled out a bit, would you believe? I've just got to a point where I don't really care what happens now, because am I living in a cardboard box? No, I'm not living in a cardboard box. Are you living in a cardboard box? Hopefully not. Well, that's a win then, isn't it? So bad things happen all the time. And if you can survive them, we've won. We're okay. And I know that for a lot of people, they haven't had money from the government, they haven't had any help and support. You might have had to go and work overnight packing vans for Morrison's. And I know a lot of really talented people who've had to do that kind of work. But think about that as being, you know, a growth thing, something that you can really use and rely on later on. We've all had to do those kind of jobs. Don't think that we've all come up through this privilege with money, because we haven't. So we've all had to do jobs we didn't want to do. And I can honestly tell you that any job I've ever done has been of use to me later on. So what can I give you that gives you hope about the future? Things always get better. They always get better, and there is definitely hope. You've got to stay positive, you've got to keep thinking of new ideas, and the climate is going to be different. But you've got the wherewithal, you've got the intelligence, you've got the stamina, you've got the youth, you've got everything on your side. And you've got to understand that people like me and lots of other people, we want that excitement from the youth. We want to see new ideas, and especially when you first start out, you're in this delicious little window of being young and enthusiastic, and people are looking for that talent. So make sure it's your talent that they're finding. We've got so many more opportunities now, so many different ways of getting your work out there. Do it, get it out there, but make sure that you know your worth. This is a business, this is a job. Make it your job. Don't give everything away for nothing, but make sure that you create the pathway that you want. Thank you so much, Gravity and Levity, for letting me talk about myself and give my opinions, because normally nobody wants to hear them, but I give it to them anyway. So this has been fantastic. And if anybody wants to call me or have a chat or talk through anything, you know, please feel free. I'm always on the end of the phone.